I have a philosophy degree. So that means I am poor, but I know why.
Is philosophy something that is practical? That is it something that conduces to improving or understanding our lives? It's a good question. In telling us a little bit of the story of his own philosophy degree, that is a degree in academic philosophy from a traditional university, Michael is touching on a very important contrast that we make, and you can actually study about in a traditional academic setting, but you can also learn about on your own, and it has to do with the nature of philosophy. Very often we act as if philosophy always means precisely the same thing, and then we go on and we associate it mistakenly with whatever it is that we happen to have encountered as philosophy. So if the primary place where we run across philosophy is in a bookstore, looking in that particular section, and not looking in other sections where we'll also find other philosophy books, by the way. Or if you go to a college or a university and you say, I want to take a philosophy course, you're going to get one picture, or at least a different kind of mosaic of all sorts of put together pictures of philosophy. But if you go and look at what counted as philosophy in the ancient world and what people are using today, it's very good to keep in mind that there is a very strong neo-Stoic movement of people who may not have any sort of background in academic philosophy, have never taken a philosophy course at a traditional college or university, but have, however, studied Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus, sometimes very closely and with great insight, and thought how they might apply it within the fabric of their own life, their relationships to their experiences. What we're talking about there is what has come to be called in recent times philosophy as a way of life. And that's not a new idea. That actually ran throughout most, I would say, ancient and also medieval and even quite a bit of early modern philosophy, but dropped out of the picture, I would say, fairly decisively within the 19th century and 20th century, although there are some very important exceptions. Think about the whole existentialist movement within philosophy as an example. It can be a lot of fun to talk about questions like, are we really here or not? What does being here mean? You know, those sorts of things that we tend to think of philosophers as preoccupying themselves with. But philosophers have also been asking fundamental questions, and this is why it hasn't gone away. It's not something that's going to disappear. Philosophers have, a several millennia-long track record of asking these key questions like, what is the meaning of life? Is there one? How could we differentiate that from a less meaningful life? And we could just go on and on and on about these sorts of fundamental questions that orient a person. They're not questions that you can put off forever or questions that you would necessarily focus on exclusively in some sort of isolation from everything else in life, in the proverbial ivory tower. As it turns out, those happen to be the sorts of questions that Stoicism oriented itself around fundamentally as a philosophical school.